a minute for people to wander in. And then, oh yeah, just go to the YouTube page so we can see the thing. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And mute that. Okay.
Yeah, I only bounced back to the Hangout when I needed to mute it, but and I just mostly, okay.
We have 3 viewers right now. Hi guys, we're waiting for more people to join in before we begin officially. So let us know if you can hear me okay, and Megan, you want to pop in and make sure that we can hear you okay?
Okay, I hear you, Shelby, and hopefully everybody can hear me.
Hey Alex, hey Nana, and Savannah, Lee. All right, we're getting a couple more. We can wait just a few more minutes, and then I think we can jump in. Excellent. Oh, nice. This is such a nice, refreshing start from last time where there were all this technical difficulties. So right off the bat, we're doing good. That's fantastic. Technology is very cool, Alex. All right, let's get to 20 viewers before we start. We have just a few more. 19, one more. All right, we are at 20 viewers. I think that's probably a good place to go ahead and start. I hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I don't know where you are, but it's beautiful here. Been gorgeous, and I think today is a great day to start talking about planning for the future in the bullet journal. So welcome to the Bujo Brainstorm Q&A with Megan and I. Is Paige Flutter, and I am Little Coffee Fox, if you are not familiar with us. If you have not had a chance to come check out either of our blogs, there's links in the description below where you can check out both of our future planning posts. So welcome, and it is wonderful to see you guys. Megan, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan from Paige Flutter. Thank you for tuning in. I know I had a couple of you guys that I just talked to on Facebook because we exchanged links, so I'm glad that you guys were able to make it. I just want to remind everybody who's here that, that Shelby and I run these as a free way for people to share information about a system that we're all enthusiastic about, but we are not in any way affiliated with the official Bullet Journal website. We encourage you to go to their website for more information about the system, and just remember that we blog about the system just because we love it and we like sharing this information, but we are not trying to sell you anything under their names. So that's enough of the legal stuff, but we're excited to get started. So I'm going to turn it back over to Shelby, and I'm going to let her get started with how she kind of incorporated future planning into her bullet journal, because I think it's been a recent addition for her.
That is right. It has been very recent, as like maybe 2 weeks ago. I've tried doing future planning in the past, but it's always been really hard for me, even planning more than a month in advance, because for the longest time I've only had my monthly planner, the regular thing with the calendar, and since earlier this year, the logs and the trackers and everything like that. But I really struggled with planning more than a month in advance. And so this is something that I've been really trying to do better at, especially since I've started blogging full time. I have a lot of things that I need to plan more than a month in advance. And then there's plenty of things in like real life that also need a little bit more, foresight. So something that I recently started doing is, sorry, I think my necklace is clinking on my microphone. Well, let me move that to the back there. Something that I just recently started doing is a really, really simple tracker. I think I saw it on Pinterest, I think a while back. Maybe it was Boho Berry. Probably was Boho Berry. But it's just something that's really simple. If I can find it. There it is. It's really, really simple. You can see that okay. Basically, I just have the next 3 months just listed out right here with stuff in each month's category. And then I have just notes for general stuff, for anything that I can't really pinpoint on a specific date or month, but I know that it needs to kind of get done sometime soon. And then my beyond, which is currently empty. But for anything that I can think of that just kind of pops into my head that needs to happen sometime, and I need to not forget about it, but it's not strictly speaking urgent. And that would be for anything like if I am planning on going on any kind of a vacation or a family group activity that I want to do, like for Easter or something, and I want to start thinking about that sort of thing in advance, but I don't want to necessarily mess with it right now. So the kind of things that I have in my in my like my monthly categories here in these 3 months, like I have a particular date that I need to keep in mind for December. On December 3rd, I have a presentation in Chicago about the Bullet Journal. Definitely need to have something in there about it, which means that in November, I have several items that were specifically like needed to happen in November to prepare for this presentation. I also have things like making doctor's appointments needs to happen. I have a vacation that's happening in December that I need to make sure to prepare for. And then I have like starting a new bullet journal that's going to be happening, and that's going to require a good amount of sitting down and focusing. There's plenty of things beyond that, and I know that that's a really simple system. Some people have a lot more complex thing. I, for one, don't have a whole lot of stuff that needs to be specific dates. I don't have kids who have like plays or parent-teacher conferences or anything like that. I don't have a physical job at work that I need to look at, like monthly reviews or quarterly goals or anything like that. I don't have business appointments, really. Most of my stuff is pretty flam-flammy, and I can kind of schedule it whenever it works for me, and that is great. But that also means that my future planner is very wibbly-wobbly, not very set in stone, which makes it kind of hard to plan for. But so far, this is working. I've actually come back to it several times since I started it, which is a big deal for me because there are plenty of things that I will draw it out, and then in the past with future planners, I'll draw it out and then never look at it again. So that's what I'm working on right now. It's very much a difficult thing for me. It's a work in progress. So I know that you guys have some questions, and if you just, we can get into the questions here in a second, but I know Megan recently did a post about future planning, and she has a little bit more of a structured, makes sense version than I do. So Megan, do you want to go ahead and dig into your future planner?
Sure. Well, I am very A-type when it comes to planning my schedule. I like a place where I know that I can write any given appointment. I need a line for every single day of the year. It was really hard for me at first, the idea of giving up a paper planner, a pre-printed planner where I had my days all lined up for me. So, but I really, really wanted to use the bullet journal system because I needed the free space to be able to take notes for my creative writing and for other things that I had going on in my life. So I started with a very simple, and I'll show you mine from this year, from my 2016 future planning, and then I'll show you how I adapted it just a little bit for next year. But so I just started out, and I took a 2-page spread and I split it into 4 months into columns, and that way I could create a space for every day of that month. So if I had a major event, something that had a time associated with it, then I can just put it in there. If I have if I have something that's sort of loosey-goosey and doesn't need an actual date with it, just like Shelby was saying, something that needs to get done on the horizon, but it's not necessarily a scheduled event, I probably just put that in my monthly spread as a project, and then I just migrate it on a monthly basis. So, but this is where, if I need to schedule something in the future, this is where it goes. I do also use a digital calendar just to share scheduled events that may concern my husband, but I tend to forget appointments when they go into my iCal, so I reference this for every appointment that I have. So every month I come here and I check and I see if there's a scheduled event for that month, and if there is, then I migrate that to the appropriate monthly spread, and I'll find a monthly spread here to show you. So then I'll migrate it to, say, like my May spread, and then I have the same thing, but it breaks it down into a little bit more detail. I have a little more space to break out my mornings, my afternoons, anything that might be blog related, and then my projects and other goals that I have going on. So I'll migrate from there. But really for me, it was just really important that I be able to see not just that I had something scheduled. And I said this in my blog post on future planning. I worked really hard to try to use the Calendex system just because I love it. I think it's such an elegantly designed system, and I really, really loved it. So I tried really hard to use it, and it just wasn't working for me, for one, because I couldn't at a glance, you know, if somebody said, what do you have going on the 15th, I would have to flip around 2 and 3 places in my journal to tell them. Whereas this way I could at least see that I had, oh, I have an appointment in the morning, but let's go ahead and schedule in the afternoon, and I could do that. So let me show you how I kind of changed it for this year. I really only made one addition in that I added a little monthly calendar at the very top, which you can see there. And that's just to give me the monthly view of where the dates are lining up. I always have my days of the week in my columns anyway, but this is just a different visual. It's just, I can look at it and it gives me a little bit of a different view of what I'm seeing as far as scheduling appointments. And then I've gone ahead and, I don't know if you guys can see that, I can box out in green, you know, an important date that might be coming up, and then write them down, you know, somewhere further down on the spread. So what I had to get rid of my header, my future planning header, to do this, to actually put in these little calendars, but I can look at it and tell it's my future planning spread, so I wasn't too concerned about that. The other thing that I figured out with this system recently is that when I did have additional details that I needed to record, I can use it much the same way that you would use a Calendex, in that I can put a page number there and reference that page and then flip to it if there are things that I need to bring with me, directions to an appointment and things like that. But this way I at least have the space to put in the time and what the event is before, you know, so that I can see at a glance kind of what I've got going on that month. So that's my very simple system. I know the Calendex is one that really kind of hangs people up. So I wanted to see how many people in here were using the Calendex. I know a couple of you said, oh my gosh, Megan, oh no, refresh. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Am I there? Can you guys hear me?
Sorry, Megan. I was referring to the other Megan in the comments. Megan Campbell. I did not think about that. Sorry. Okay, I'll go back to my corner now.
All right, so you guys can hear me. So yeah, I wanted to see just the number of Calendex users that were out there, because I know that that's one that can kind of hang people up, just because there's a little bit of a learning curve with it. So okay, there's Megan Campbell. She's saying that she's back in with us. So so I tried the Calendex, and I'll show you guys my Calendex from last year. And here it is. And it's very elegant. So if you've never used a Calendex before, here's what can be tricky at first, is that you're not recording the date or the time necessarily of the appointment. What you're recording is that on this date, you'll go to this page number, and it will give you the details and time of the event. So that can kind of trip people up at first, because they're recording a page number and not an actual event. The event is found on the log page. So the nice thing about that is that you can put a lot of detail into what you're recording. If you need to bring deliverables, you need directions, there's a certain person that you need to contact, you know, a certain amount of time before the appointment. If there's, you know, a guy at the corner you have to meet, and he has a code word, and you have to give him the code word, and he'll take you to the appointment, then you can put all of that in your notes, which is great. And I love that about it, is that you really have unlimited space to give all the details for a given appointment. So that's the advantage of the Calendex, and some people like that they can see at a glance that they have recurring appointments, or that they have a completely blocked off week. So, so there's that. Another option is, I think what Shelby probably did up until recently, was just using a digital calendar for your future planning and migrating from there to a monthly spread. I know she said that she, up until very recently, didn't really have a future planning spread. So, you know, you sort of just go with it on the fly. So there are a lot of different options out there, but I would love to hear from you guys as to like the specific struggles that you've had with future planning, and what systems you've tried, and yeah, just kind of how you're handling that.
Actually, Megan, I just want to pop in while we're waiting for questions to come. It was actually worse than that. I didn't use a digital anything. I just flew by the seat of my pants pretty much, and went month by month. It was not a good system. I wouldn't recommend it. Alex, we're at 31 viewers active right now. So I see that there's someone, Christy and Alex are talking about a loose leaf journal and talking about that for future planning. Does anyone else here use like a loose leaf system, like a Filofax or anything like that? For archiving, you can get your journal spiral bound at Staples or oh, I see. Okay, so the question was a while back. There's a couple people talking about this in the comments about the benefits of a loose leaf journal and how the benefits of that for future planning, and not loose leaf, something that's actually bound. And someone just suggested for concerns about archiving, you can go and get them spiral bound at an office supply store. They usually have services for that sort of thing. So what else have we got?
Hey, Shelby, I'm going to jump in real fast because
Sure.
I see that Julie said that she was brand new and hadn't ever heard of the Calendex. So I want to slow down just a little bit, and I'm going to back up and I'm going to walk through the Calendex and kind of explain exactly what it is for her. And then I saw that there were a couple other questions coming in. So if you don't mind taking a look at those while I'm explaining this for everyone, not just Julie, but there may be other people who have never walked through the Calendex. And at first it can be a little intimidating to look at. So I want to walk you guys through that really slowly. Okay, so I'm going to start over here and I'm just going to show you, this is what your future planning spread would look like. So this column right here is a month. And then the lines in between are broken up into the weeks of that month. So the numbers of the month are along the side, and then you just put a line basically where that week would start. Whether you want to start your week on Monday or Sunday, that's up to you. But you would put the line there. Then essentially you can see here, let's go to February here. I have a couple of appointments that are scheduled. One of them being on looks like the 8th of February. And then I have a page number there. So I would flip to page number 38, and I have an appointment schedule that I have put the details of the date or the time rather on the 8th of February that appointment occurs. So I actually have to flip backwards here. So on the 38th, let's see. See, I don't even see it on here. I was terrible at Calendex. I just had such a hard time flipping back and forth with it. But some people are really good at it. So don't let that discourage you. Some people love it and it changes their life. So, okay, here's a better example, page 33. So you can see on page 33, right there, I had to go work the book room at my son's school because I'm a good PTA mom. So I put the details of what time I needed to go, and I have a little square there. And underneath that, you'll see that I also have a circle. And the reason that is because I had more than one event that I scheduled while I was using this daily page. So something else came up for a different date. So if I flip back to my Calendex, which of course I have to move forward because of where it fell in my, okay. So if I flip back to my Calendex, you'll see that over here in March, you guys, can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah. Over here in March, I have a circle that's also on page 33 for a different date. I believe it was March 15th. Is that right? Yeah, March 15th. So I flipped to page 33 in my journal to schedule 2 separate appointments. So what you're recording though is where to find the details for the appointment on that date. So I hope, Julie, I hope that gives you a better understanding of kind of how the Calendex works. People like it because it gives a snapshot of basically the entire year at once, and there's not a lot to write here on the calendar, if that makes sense. And some people modify them. There are ways to customize this as well. You don't necessarily have to use it just like this. And then I see, how would you know the page if you're not supposed to create months in advance? So you're recording them in your dailies. So this appointment in February, the question that Leanne had was, if you're not supposed to create pages in advance, how would you know the page? So you write down the appointment whenever, like if it's March 15th and your appointment isn't until next January and you're on your March 15th daily, that's where you write down the appointment that's going to be in January. Does that make sense? And then you basically would take the page number. You know, if you were using page number 57 on that day, you would record page 57 in your January spot where that appointment needs to occur. It can be kind of hard to explain unless you've walked through it and actually used it, but the very best explanation is on the official Bullet Journal website, and they call it the HOPE method on there. So if you search Calendex or HOPE method on the Bullet Journal website, the full explanation of how this works will come up. There is a little bit of a learning curve with it, but like I said, some people, once they work through that, they say that this changes their life. So what I managed to do with my system was basically use the same thing, but I kind of foolproofed it a little bit for myself, because I can screw up a really elegant system like that. So so that's where on my system I still can just write the date and time and not have any issues. And if I do have more details that I need to give, then I can write, you know, page 33. And then you can flip to page 33 and see all of the additional details that I took while I was, you know, writing for a particular daily. Like whenever that daily is occurring, then I can just say, oh, don't forget, Megan, in 3 months, you're going to have to go to so-and-so and you're going to have to do all of these things for them. I hope that explains that maybe just a little bit better. So let's see if anybody else had anybody.
There was one question, sorry, let me pop in really quick. There was one question from, I think it was Heather a few minutes ago. Let me scroll up and make sure I'm got the right person here. Heather. Oh, well, Heather wasn't who I was immediately referring to, but hi, Heather. You're a newbie to setting up future planning. Welcome to the club. I think it was, oh, yeah, it was Heather. I'm sorry, Heather Verde. I was referring to you. You were asking if you could put an indicator to the left and right of the box to show morning and afternoon. You could do that if you have enough room for the Calendex little setup. I imagine that if you just did it small enough, you could easily put some kind of an indicator, or something that I know some people use is they use color coding. Get like a pack of Stettler fine liners that are really, really small tip pens with lots of bright colors, and you can sort of, you can create a little code at the bottom, a little key for the color to meaning, and maybe have like pink be morning and blue be night or something like that. And I think that would really help if you kept it pretty simple on the color coding front. I don't know if having a whole bunch of colors would make it easier or worse, but that might be a good option for that. And then Heather L, who I was mixing up, sorry about that, Heather. You say you're a newbie setting up to future planning, and that you recently started a bullet journal because you needed a place to keep track of both personal and professional lives. Calendars were everywhere. Well, you know, I think a lot of us can understand that. One of the reasons that a lot of people came to the bullet journal is because we had so many things in so many different places, and being able to whittle it down to just one single notebook is extremely useful and wonderful. It's especially, I imagine, for students who work. If I had this when I was in college, that would have been amazing. Or if I used it. I had it, I just didn't really use it. But future planning, especially for assignments or any sort of a big work project, I think would be really, really useful to have some kind of a Calendex or some sort of a future planning. Because you don't have to necessarily use it for strict appointments either. You can always do it for things that are like if you're in school and you know a final's coming up, you can write things like final is on this date, and then plan on studying X amount of days on these particular days, and you can make sure to write that into your future planning. So you have sort of a preset schedule to follow whenever you're getting up to your deadline of whatever it is. And that could be a school assignment, or like I said, it could be a work assignment. It could be something personal like exercising or home renovation, or personal in that it could be a painting or a woodworking project or whatever it is that you're into. You can do that sort of a thing where you don't have to strictly use future planning just for appointments and single date events, if that makes any sense. Another question. Oh,
well,
sorry.
Shelby, real fast. I just want to I just have one quick comment on combining your personal and work life. One of the things that I've seen that people use really successfully is that they will actually split they'll split like a 2-page spread. This is just like a blank journal that I have. So you would basically have, you could have, there are 1,000 ways to do this, but one of the ways is you can create, you know, 30, you know, you can create, this page is for your personal life and this page is for your work life. And then the dates would basically you just follow them across. And then you can see at a glance, you know, here's what I have going on in my personal life and here's what I have to deal with in my professional life. And that way you can kind of keep them separate, but also in the same place, because you're not living 2 lives, you're living 1 life. You really need one spread to be able to keep them both together visually. So that's just another suggestion. And go ahead, Shelby, back over to you.
Well, I'm scrolling up and I'm seeing a question about success using, sorry if I horribly mangle this name, Kitsubushi, has a question about success using glance, next week at a glance and their current weekly spread. I currently don't keep a weekly spread. I keep dailies, and for that I don't do anything like next week at a glance. But very recently, as in about 4 days ago, I created a new page in my monthly tracker, which kind of covers that. Like I said, I'm trying really hard to do better about future planning, because the whole flying bread and seed in my pants method was totally not working. So for November, I went ahead and did, I have like a master plan where I have the personal and the work. And then I have over here my, my 4 weeks for the month. And that's kind of rough. Just kind of a general, there's no date, it's just generally 4 weeks. And then I tried to take these big tasks over here and break them down into manageable bite-sized pieces over here, and plan it out more than a couple days in advance, so that I can kind of get an idea. Like, you know, today, Sunday, I can look at this next week and say, okay, this coming week I need to do this and write a blog post about this, and et cetera, as a way to sort of break down those sort of bigger abstract things and put it into smaller bite-sized pieces. Megan, do you do anything like that?
I do, actually. So I use a weekly spread, and I don't do it every week. And right now my planner is really, or my journal is really short on pages. So I've actually kind of given up dailies for a little while, and I'm only on a weekly spread. But I'll show you. So this is, I go from, my migration order goes from future planning to monthly to weekly to occasional daily. I don't use a daily every day unless I really need one. So if I need a daily, I use it. Great. You know, some days are really busy and I need that daily. But if I am working on Thursdays daily on Saturday, I don't stress about it. I don't create a daily just to create one. So so here's, this is what one of my weekly spreads would look like. So occasionally, on this week, I actually had, it's a little unusual. Maybe I picked a bad week. Let me, so that week was kind of odd. Here's a better example. So on this week, I had my appointments that I needed, any scheduled appointments I put in these boxes. You know, if I have something that really needs to get done on a specific day that's blocking out time, I put it here. I have any kind of like projects, blog things I need to work on. And then I leave this little area down here at the bottom that says next week. I don't always use it because I don't always need to write a lot in this area, but it's like, if I have something that I need to pre-plan for, something I need to be thinking about, something that is going to require some preparation ahead of time, then I put that here so that I can keep it in the back of my mind and continue working towards that appointment or goal or event or whatever it is that I have going on. Then I might just start my dailies over here on the next page, if that makes sense, so that I can still see the week. I've started my dailies. I very rarely use, like, you know, this page and fill up these as dailies and fill the back of this as dailies, but sometimes I do. It just depends. I used to use dailies a lot more heavily until I started my weekly spread. So, but yeah, there are times of the year that I might use dailies a little bit more when I have things on my mind, if I just am writing things out. But for the most part, I can keep it pretty. And this is, I should explain, I have some code here that you guys are probably scratching your heads over. So if this is what my week looks like, next to it, I actually have some letters there that indicate that I am task batching. So I've dedicated, here on Monday, it looks like I've dedicated both the morning and the afternoon to writing blog posts. So I draft a group of blog posts all at once so that I'm not, you know, bouncing from writing to taking pictures to, you know, taking care of my kids to housework, it's just all over the place. But this way I try to give my day a little bit of focus. And then you can see when I go over to my daily, I actually have a little button there that tells me what my focus for the day is. And that's just a way of focusing my time. It's not set in stone. It's very flexible, but it's just something that I do kind of on a weekly basis. So that's what mine looks like. And that's how, just to answer your question, that's how I plan for the future for the next week, is I just give it like one line and here it is at a glance. So, and then I saw one other question that, who was it? Was it Leanne? Leanne had a question about erasing and how do you change your appointments when you need to? So I recently started, and only because I found friction erasable pens by Pilot. Let me find one for you because I have a whole bunch of them here. So this is what they look like. Right in front of my camera. There we go. This is what they look like. And it's an erasable gel pen. It's not like a normal erasable pen, but they erase with heat. So what I've been doing is I've been drawing my spread out with a regular, permanent Sharpie or art pen, whatever I'm happen to be using to draw out my actual monthly plan. And then I use an erasable gel pen like this to actually put the appointment in. Then if I need to change it, I can just erase it and move the appointment wherever it needs to go. So Shelby, you might have a different answer to that one.
Actually, I was going to suggest the same thing. I was just thinking, I don't have those pens personally. I really should, but I was just thinking how completely blown away I was by your post about those erasable pens, because they're pretty awesome. And for anyone who doesn't particularly want to set things in stone and have the risk of like scratching it out or doing anything like that, being able to erase it's really cool. Personally, I don't like using pencils in my bullet journal because I really just like I just really like pens. I don't really have any other good explanation than that. I just really like pens, and I like writing with them, and it makes me feel good to do that. But I can understand why, if your plans change a lot, that would be really frustrating to constantly having to scratch those out. So if you really don't want to use pencil, but you also don't want the finality of ink, I would say that exact brand of pens is fantastic. They're really, really cool. And there was another. Oh, Heather, you say that's a great weekly spread. What is the sticker along the edge for? Were you referring to Megan's little buttons on her weekly spread? Because I think those are hand drawn, aren't they?
Yeah, those are hand drawn. It's just a circle. I just draw a circle and put my little emblem of whatever the day's focus is going to be in, whatever my abbreviation is. Like P is for posts, PH is for photos, G is for creating graphics, A is for administrative, H is for home, CW is for creative writing. Some days I devote just an entire day to creative writing projects, freelance articles that I might be working on, ghostwriting, things like that. But yeah, they're just little hand-drawn buttons. They're nothing fancy.
A green half circle. Megan, can you show us your weekly spread again? I'm thinking of the little buttons that you had, but I'm not remembering a green half circle. Megan, you're muted.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay, I lost my YouTube for just a second, but I got you guys back.
Oh, no.
No, that's okay. So you were saying like the stickers on the edges. Is that what you're asking about, my edge labels? I'm guessing you might be asking about like these little guys. Is that right? Let me pop over and see if I can read the comments here. That's probably what you're asking for. But so I have my weekly things. Okay, let me show you. Yes, those are what you're asking about. So let me flip this guy open. So I have in the very back of my planner, let me get there. I have this little key that shows me what those stickers mean. And then I just, if I need to label something, then those edge stickers help me do it. So here's a really good example. One day I was feeling really jazzy and decided to punish myself because I wasn't writing. So I doodled instead. And I should have been writing, but I was doodling. But I still decided that this particular page dealt with writing. So I categorized it with an edge label as being a writing page. And the reason I like doing this is because I don't like a lot of tabs sticking out of the edge of my journal. So I use these little stickers and I just kind of wrap them around the edge of the page. and they're always in the same place. So if I need to quickly reference a lot of my spreads that have to do with creative writing, then I would just, I would just turn my journal on the side, and I'll show you what it looks like. Let me get this little sticky note out of here so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see the colors that kind of line up in my journal as to where, those different stickers have been placed. So I use down here, you might not be able to tell on the camera, but there's like a pale green one that I use for my monthly spreads. So I can, at a glance, if I flip my pages like this, you might be able to see it a little bit better. Then you can see where all of my monthly pages are in the journal, and I can actually just flip right to them. So hopefully that answers your question.
And where did you get those stickers again, Megan?
I ordered them on Amazon, and if you go to my blog, there's a button on my sidebar that says, "Are you new to bullet journaling? Start here." And if you click on that, so you go to pageflutter.com, and then on the right-hand side, there's the button. I think it's purple, and it says, "Are you new to bullet journaling? Start here." Click on that, and it'll take you into a post that just gives you kind of a rundown of my bullet journaling essentials and the very, very basics of the system. And there is a link to Amazon of where you can find those stickers, those particular ones. I bought one pack, and I've been using them now for 2 years. So I think it's a $12 pack of stickers, which it was a little bit expensive when I got them, but they're very small, and they're pastel, and they have a lot of different colors. So I was really happy with them. And like I said, it came in a huge pack, so I've been using them for 2 years. I haven't had to buy them again. So there you go. And then Shelby, I think there was a question about, somebody had asked a little bit ago about whether or not we use Hobonichis. So
oh, yes.
I personally don't, so I'm going to hand that one over to you.
I don't know what that is. If it's a brand of something that I'm not familiar with it.
It is a brand. It is a brand, and it's also they have covers that go with them. You get like the journal that goes inside the cover, and they can be very expensive. The paper is very, very nice. I've never actually used one myself for bullet journaling, but I have seen them and touched them and kind of been up with them up close. But Julie, if you want to type in a little bit of explanation about them, because it seems like maybe you've used them or have some interest in them, or if there's anybody else who's used them and then wants to talk about the pros and cons of why they enjoy them. I've heard that fountain pen users like them a lot because the paper quality is very, very nice. But that's about as much as I know about them, so I'll leave it at that.
Yep, I'm afraid I don't have anything more on that one. I think I recognized the name of the brand, but I couldn't even tell you until you said so. I couldn't even tell you whether it was a journal or a pen or something like that. Now I'm afraid I have no words of wisdom on this one, so definitely if you want to add a little bit of insight. While Julie is typing, Leanne had a question. She says that she tries to habitually put as many details to save info and thoughts into her future planner, being afraid that she'll forget something. Any thoughts about and any other ways to save the details and declutter the future logs? Well, the Calendex is one, because the Calendex itself is a very simple planner, and you write the details on your daily. But if you're not interested in that sort of a thing, just because the Calendex is a little bit too, you just don't want to, you don't think it's going to work for you. Threading, Alex just suggested threading, which is a great idea. Where threading is basically, I haven't tried it. It's one of those things I've been meaning to try for a long time. I know that Kim from Tiny Ray Sunshine has a great post about it. About basically threading is if you reference something like on page 50 about whatever, A, say you're referencing A on page 50, or you write about it. And then later down the road, when you're on page like 84, you talk about A again, and it's directly related to the thing on page 50. Then on page 84, you write in the bottom corner 50 next to the number of the page, so that whenever you're on that page, you know that the last piece of information was on page 50. And I think you can go to page 50 and do the same, where you write out 84. So basically, you just have a quick reference for all the things that are relevant to that topic. You can find them all way down at the bottom by the number of your page, and you can just keep doing that so that you know to just kind of like skip around without having to constantly go back to the index. And that way you can also do things that are a little bit more detailed than something you would put in the index. I personally don't put dailies in my index at all. I only put things that are like particular spreads, months, sometimes weekly notes or something like that, but never my dailies, so that would never make it. But if I were talking about dailies, or I was working on a project in my dailies that I needed to reference later, threading would be a great way to do that. Do you do anything like threading, Megan?
I do thread. I thread, and I get all of this from Kim at Tiny Ray of Sunshine. She is really good with the mechanics of the journal and how to make it work better, and the actual, you know, she focuses a lot on the actual function of the journal, which I really love. But so I do thread in, I thread in my collections. I don't necessarily thread dailies or weeklies, but I thread my collections if I have a collection that has either either jumped around, I've had to add and jump around in my journal a little bit. And then if it's an important collection and I decide to migrate it to a new journal, then I might at that time combine the pages into one long collection. But you can also thread. If anybody's new to threading, let me just explain really fast. Threading is, I mean, I think Shelby kind of hit on it, but threading is just connecting pages that are separated geographically by using by annotating on the page number. That's all it is, just annotating that it's connected.
It's a metaphorical thread, not a literal one. I probably should have said.
Exactly. It's metaphorical. That's just what we call when you connect pages that might be separated within the journal, but they are related. So you would connect them by annotating their page numbers together at the bottom of the page. Okay, so that's really fast. But you can also thread your actual journals. When you're done with your journal, like let's say this was journal number 1. It's not, but let's just pretend it is. So if this were journal number 1, then I could, in journal number 2, thread a topic to journal number 1. If I was continuing a collection and I didn't want to actually copy the entire old collection over, then I could just, you know, write the continuance in this journal and thread it to an old journal. That's just one other method that you can use. Then somebody had asked about using a Post-it. I'm going to jump back, switch gears just a little bit, because someone had asked about using a Post-it to migrate appointments forward, and I've seen a lot of bullet journalists use that, and it's actually a really handy system because you can write your appointment as soon as it comes up, and if the month that appointment isn't created for yet, like let's say it's happening next month and you just haven't created your monthly yet, then you can jot down an appointment on a Post-it, stick it in your journal, and just move it forward as you turn pages until it's time to actually put that down on a monthly spread. So I've seen it work. It works really well for some people. I like a really clean journal without a lot of stickies because they tend to fall out and I move them and lose them. And the whole reason that I started my bullet journal to begin with was because of a lost Post-it. So I tend to try to shy away from that as much as possible. But when you're in a pinch, it can be really good to move a topic forward.
I think Post-its are also a really good option for people who like to sort of bully themselves into doing stuff. I'm one of those people. I do all kinds of oddball things to force myself to do things. Like actually right now, on my front door, right over the handle is a Post-it note saying, "Take out the trash," because I would forget. There was a day that I just forgot it several times and I kept meaning to take it out when I took the dog out. And so I wrote a Post-it note. I'm a big fan of Post-it notes. If any of you follow my blog, you know that I kind of have a tiny obsession with them. Using the Post-it note method for future logging or future planning, I haven't used that one so much. I did kind of whenever I was at my recent job as a receptionist, because it was really great for remembering if, you know, I moved someone. I did it a lot so that I could take pictures of my bullet journal without sharing people's names and phone numbers and whatnot, just I could pull a sticky out and put it back in. But I also started using it for that sort of a thing where it would travel a couple of days. And I would be able to sort of remember, like, oh, I moved this person from this schedule to this other scheduled appointment. And I'd be able to kind of do that sort of thing and then move it forward. But if you're someone who struggles to sort of stay motivated, then bullying yourself with a Post-it note is not a bad idea, because you can write a reminder, like take out the trash or something, and you can put it on your daily, and then you can just keep moving it from day to day because it's going to get in the way. And eventually you'll get sick and tired of looking at it and moving it, and you can just kick it out and throw it away. It's not a bad way of doing it. I also saw someone on Instagram a couple of days ago. They were kind enough to tag me because I had a post a while back about recipe log, and I use Post-it notes for this, and it's chaotic and insane, and I love it. I have a bunch of recipes on these Post-it notes, and I'm able to look through them and move them from one side to the other, or throw them away, or do whatever I want. I'm going to be moving to a new bullet journal soon because I'm almost done. Megan and I are in the same boat on that one. I'm running really low on dailies, or on my pages. But what this Instagrammer did is, I wish I could remember who it was off the top of my head. I feel really bad. But someone did that for their planning as a way to, they had like a page for planning, and they were able to take little flags, not these big ones, but just little, like, hold on, these guys, these little tiny flags right here, and write just little tiny snippets of their appointment information or whatever they needed to do, and sort of move it from like the needs to get done or needs to get put into its permanent home into its permanent home, and just pick it up and move it around. I don't know the details exactly of how she does that, but I know that it was just a really interesting way of using Post-it notes to move information that you don't necessarily know where it's going to go yet, or if you don't have like a month, like talking about scheduling something that you don't have the month drawn up for it yet, then that might be a good way to kind of keep a collection of notes and whatnot for that. If you don't mind a bunch of flags and stickies, like Megan said, some people just really don't like those sort of things hanging out and flipping around every time they open their bullet journal. So that's definitely a personal choice. It's worth trying if you have sticky notes laying around. I found them to be really helpful, but yeah, that's just one method that you can do to sort of encourage yourself to plan things and move things around and remember stuff.
Okay, so I had, there were two questions that came up while you were kind of explaining that. So Heather had asked if I could show an example of threading, and I will absolutely do that right now. So I'm going to go to page 200 in my journal, and I'll show you guys kind of what's going on. So let's see. I'll go to let me find 205 because I want to flip through this really quickly. Okay, so this is an example of when I developed my task batching. I tried to think through how I was going to batch my time a little bit better because I was getting interrupted a lot. I work from home with small children, so I get interrupted a lot, and I needed a better way to be more efficient and to minimize interruptions and use the blocks of time that I have more efficiently. So I created some task batching pages, and I worked on these over a couple of weeks. So the collection is not all together. So at the very bottom of the page, you can see that I threaded this, this particular one starts on page 200, but I threaded it to 194 and 205 and 212. So if I go to page 205, you can see that I threaded what typical tasks during my day might look like. So I tried to make a list of all the types of tasks that I use because switching gears from laundry to taking photos for my blog requires a big mindset shift, and I was wasting a lot of time doing that. So I tried to create a list, then group them together by task. So writing a blog post is not very different from answering comments or answering emails. So I tried to group those tasks together and then create this task batching plan. So it was also threaded to let's see. I also threaded it to 212. So let's go see what's on page 212. Okay. Oh, I revised my task windows. So I recopied the page and moved my task windows back around and just kind of tightened the plan a little bit because before I wasn't totally happy with the way I had lined it out. So if that makes sense, then in my index, I would record those as threaded next to the topic. I would just write out these same, let me see if I did that though. Sometimes I'm not good about keeping up with threading in my index. So no, I did not. So, but you can actually annotate next to the topic that you've threaded to pages, X, Y, and Z. And then that would give you a cue that there are other pages in this collection other than just where it starts. So if that helps, I hope that explains that a little bit better. Then xdarkness22x had asked about forcing yourself to use color and be creative in your journal. You absolutely do not ever have to force yourself to use color in your journal. If you are a black and white person, if you like things simple and clean, then there's absolutely no reason to force yourself to do that unless creativity is one of your goals. Then I would say that your bullet journal can actually help you fulfill that creative goal. For some people, they want to track sketches or or some kind of creative hobby in their journals. Like, let's say you were taking up hand lettering and you wanted to practice using color in hand lettering, then you could still use those in your journal and use it as a way of tracking your progress, because then you actually still have your old sketches, your old lettering, and you can keep track of how your skills have improved over time. So like I said, if being creative and using color is a goal of yours, then I would say use it. Do it. It will help you improve, and it'll be a joyful thing for you. But if you are unhappy using color and you're doing it just because that's what other people are doing, then I would say maybe back off and just use your journal in a way that makes you happy and makes you feel like you are getting what you want out of it.
And to add on to that, definitely on the same message of like, don't try to force yourself into a mold that does not make you happy. For me, it was the opposite. I was not really much of a minimalist. I tried for 2 years doing a very minimalist bullet journal where it was just basically a to-do list with a lot of just in each day. Like there's nothing exciting, nothing going on. It was just dailies and not even any monthlies. It was really boring for me, and I just didn't like it. I didn't really come back to it every day. I didn't reference it a couple times a day like I do now. And then whenever I first discovered Boho Berry back in February of this year, it snapped, it changed. I realized that I could do both. I could have it be both a beautiful, fun planner and still use it as a planner. And from there, I got so much better about using it every single day. And now, I used to have it in my habit tracker, like coloring in daily use of my bullet journal, and now I've gotten rid of it because I've just gotten to the point now where I don't need that extra training wheel. If you would like to get more creative and force yourself to use color in the bullet journal, there are ways that you could do it without going crazy and having it, because okay, I know that this is crazy, but for me, it's watercolor, and I go nuts with making it colorful and bright, and I pretty much ruin these pages. But I go crazy, and I'm one of that particular group of people who go crazy. And then there's people who use black ink on white paper, and they're completely happy with that, and that's wonderful. You can still use color in your bullet journal without it going crazy and without it being super artsy fartsy, because there's really, really snazzy ways you can do it. Actually, my most recent, well, it's not my most recent, but this, for example, this is a really simple spread. There's nothing really going on. I'm using 2 different pens, I'm using 3 different pens because I have the black one that I use for all of my tasks. But all I did is I used just a blue pen to do the outline of my dailies, and I used a metallic jelly roll pen for the actual days themselves. And I think that it looks really cool, and it's not super crazy and complex, and there's not a lot of doodles or anything. There's just a clever, well, toot my own horn here, but just using color combinations in a way that is pleasing to the eye. One thing that I could do, or that I've started doing that I didn't used to do back in earlier this year, even just in May. Some of my old dailies are like this one. Some of my old dailies, I just change it up. Every day I was trying something different, new different pen, new different font, whatever. Lately, as a way to sort of add color and have it be more interesting without it being quite so chaotic, is I'll use one pen or one font or whatever, and I'll just have the days on that page are that particular thing, and then the next page of dailies I do something different, just to make it different and flex my creative muscle, but without it kind of looking crazy. If you are someone who's trying to be more creative, then Megan was exactly right on trying to track your progress and stuff. That's something I personally have been trying to do with painting and drawing. I don't know if you follow my Instagram, but last month I tried to do Inktober on Instagram, and I got about 5 days in before I just it was done. That was it. I'm still wanting to work on it slowly, but I did not complete my Inktober challenge. But that's something that I am trying to do better on, and that's one of my trackers, is painting and drawing right here. And I also have it in my actual habit tracker as well. So you can see it. Yeah, painting and drawing. And that's just one of the things that I'm trying to do. Morning pages is another thing I do to sort of be more creative all the time, is that it just is a good way to, it's like a lightning rod for all of your random thoughts, so you can kind of focus more on the things that matter. It just helps me in my creative process. I can get more into it right now, but that's not really what this is about. So if you really want to know more about the morning pages and how that's fantastic and why it's great for creatives. I have a blog post about it. Just go to my blog and type in morning pages and you should find it, no problem. But yeah, just to reiterate what Megan said, if you are trying to be more artistic and do all of that, the bullet journal is a great way to do it. It's been a huge catalyst for me getting back into drawing again and painting again and feeling like and getting into lettering for the first time. And it just is a great way to get into tap into a different creative energy of mine. But if you're someone who's just trying to make your bullet journal look like someone else's bullet journal, then try it by all means, give it a shot. But if it doesn't make you happy and it's not helping your planning method, then don't feel bad about moving on and doing your own thing. Definitely just do something that works for you. The bullet journal is a planner above all else for me personally, and everything else is just really helpful. But I use it to plan and organize my life, and if it stops doing that, then I have to change whatever I'm doing. Do we have any other questions?
And I'll just show real fast, like I keep things very, very simple in my journal, but I also like just a tiny touch of color to differentiate between certain months. So that's actually that actually contributes to my planning. So when I'm flipping through the journal, if I suddenly find myself in an orange month, I know that I'm not in September. September was a blue month. So then all I do is, like, if this is my weekly page, you can see that at the top there, I put in the dates inside this little box in a blue pen. And that was just because it was part of September. So you can use your color to actually complement your planning. And I know I saw some other people talking about how they color code things that, deal with their spouse or their children, or if it deals with work. I do that a little bit in my important dates tracker. So I have a birthday and holidays tracker. This is my 2017 journal. I just redid it. I used to do it a different way, and I just wanted to try something different. So then you can see, like, I have in pink, those are like silly national holidays that might be fun for the blog, like National Donut Day. Everybody likes National Donut Day, right? And in green, I have birthdays. In blue, I have holidays that are like Columbus Day, or, they're important to know because they affect you, but they, they're not necessarily a date that has something going on that I need to do that day. It's just a date that you need to know. So you can definitely use color in your journal, modestly even, and still get a lot out of it when it comes to color coding your plans. So hopefully that helps there. And then let's see if there are any other questions. I don't know, Shelby, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just a quick shameless self-plug here. If you guys aren't aware, I just recently opened a sticker shop called Coffee Fox Creations. I linked to it in the description of this video, and I just use it as, or I just made it with the intention of helping people out who might not want to spend a lot of time doing all of the creative stuff that they like the style, but they just don't want to spend the time doing it. I created a bunch of stuff that's black lettering, that's just like hand lettered common headers or dailies or monthlies, anything like that. And then I added a lot of stuff with the watercolor effects on transparent stickers. So if you really want to have sort of that watercolor look or brush lettered look, and you just don't feel like you have the time to really nail it down and work on it, then that's a good in-between option. There's also several watercolor stickers that are right on, that you can they have the cool watercolor effect without the transparency, so you can write on your own headers of whatever it is that you want to do. There's an example of one right there. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there for people who are interested in doing the artistic thing without committing in materials or the time to learn how to do several of those things, or you're just afraid you're going to damage your bullet journal with watercolors. I was fearful of that too. But yeah, that's just an option for people. And then also, someone asked what kind of a journal I use that I can abuse with watercolors, and it's a Letstrom 1917. And if you don't use one, I would highly, highly recommend it. Actually, Megan just recently did a deal with JB Welly. If you're not aware, he's a fantastic guy. He's got a fantastic store. They sell a bunch of Letstroms in a bunch of different colors, and they're fantastic. They're really, really wonderful people to work with. And Megan just got a deal with him where she is working with him to bring you a 10% discount if you use the word page flutter. I have the exact thing in the description below. And I recently just mentioned that I'm going to be running out of Letstrom soon, and I need to get new ones. And so that's where I'm going to be going to get mine. He's fantastic, and I still have the wrapping paper that I got my last stuff in. I have it right here.
I saved all my wrapping paper from him too. I love him. I have like a whole roll of it from every order I've ever placed with him because I love the paper so much.
Hand wraps everything,
yes.
and it's just like the most. I still have it. It's really. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's just really cool. You feel super special every time you get something from him because it's like all hand wrapped and gorgeous, and it's unique, and it feels like he really, really cares. And if you are getting a Let's Trim anytime soon, whether it's for you or for Christmas shopping, then you have this 10% off deal until December 31st. Is that right?
December 31st. Yeah. So he's run the promotion through the end of the year for us. And oh gosh, guys, I'm so excited about this because so John works really closely with the Leuchtturm people. By the way, I found out for anybody who doesn't speak German like me, I don't speak a lick of German, but I found out from some German speakers that it's pronounced Leuchtturm. So now we know.
Oh no!
I've been saying it so wrong all along. Don't worry, I've been saying it so wrong. Much worse than you. I was saying it terribly. So it's Leuchtturm 1917, and John has been talking to them because, as you guys know, if any of you guys are in the U.S., which I'm sure some of you are, we have a really hard time keeping those journals in stock here because the bullet journal community has really adopted it as sort of the standard notebook for bullet journaling. It's just a really good fit. You can use any kind of journal. Don't like, I'm not telling you guys you have to use this brand or anything yet. You can use any notebook you want. But a lot of people have grown attached to these, as I have myself. And so they have had a really hard time filling the demand in the US. It was just unexpected, and they've had a big backlog of being able to get these journals on a constant stream into the US. So John at JB Welly has been talking a lot with them and trying to adjust his orders so that he can keep a constant stock of the journals that you guys want to order. He also has let me know that he will be getting the official bullet journal, which I'm really excited about because I always want to use the official bullet journal because it supports the bullet journal website and Writer and all the things that he does to keep this system out and to keep educating people about it and bringing it to people. And I'm really grateful for that because it really has changed so many areas of my life as a writer, as a blogger, as a mom. I really, really love it. So, but yeah, JB Welly has said that they'll extend that 10% discount on anything that you buy through the end of the year. So stock up on your journals now. Somebody had also asked, I don't want to forget to touch on this. Someone had asked how many journals we go through in a year, and they're trying to order their journals now to think about that. When I first started journaling, I used one journal a year, and that was enough to get me through. I've started using my journal a lot more heavily now, and this year was so tight for me that I just barely made it. I wouldn't say I've actually made it, that I'm going to make it through the year in one journal. I should have switched over last month to a new journal, but I've started rationing pages and using other things to get me through so that I don't have to start a new journal in November. That to me is just such a waste. But so next year I am planning a 6-month break so that I'll move to a new journal at the midpoint of the year. I know Kara at Boho Berry, she goes through a new journal like every 3 or 4 months. So it really just depends on you. And the nice thing about this system is that you can switch in the middle of the year without too much heartache. So I hope that answers that. But Shelby, do you want to add to that before we draw our winner?
Yep. One last thing that I just want to say, just on that same thing, because I also just want to lament, because you guys will understand. I thought that I started this bullet journal, this Let's Trim, in May. The one right before that was my first bullet journal. I started more than 2 years ago, and it was this old ecosystem that I just barely, like I said, I didn't really use it that much. So I went through really, really slowly. And then I started really attacking it and getting into it in February, and started this guy in May. And I was really stoked because last month I thought I was going to be able to start a brand new Let's Trim in January, and I realized I counted the pages yesterday, and I am going to have to start a brand new bullet journal at the beginning of December, not January. I'm so upset. I can't even explain this to anyone else but you guys, because no one else really, everyone's like, yeah, so whatever. But I'm like, this was such a big deal to me, and I'm going to have to, I'm so upset. So that's my thing. But yeah, that's as fast as I went through it, and I use mine pretty heavily. I go through about 25 to 30 pages per monthly per month. That's including the monthly planner and then all the dailies and all the random collections that I stick in that month. So I don't think that's terribly a ton. That's roughly about a day a page. That's not what I do, but that's roughly about a day a page. So Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how heavily you use your bullet journal and how much goes into your dailies. And um, yeah, but and also just to say, the price hikes on Amazon for the Litstroms are bananas sometimes. I think they're okay right now for certain colors, but then there's other colors that get up into like the 150s to $100 range. That's one thing I love about JB Welly is that his stuff is always, I think it's 1950 plus shipping. And so it's really stable.
It's 1950 plus shipping. He never changes his prices depending on his stock. He'll just sell out and he'll just tell you he's out of them. He never changes his prices. And once you get that 10% discount, I haven't found any place that sells them cheaper than that. And for somebody who was asking about watercolors, they also do have a sketchbook, which has 180 gram sketch paper in it. So if painting and drawing is something that you're dedicated to doing in your journal, you can use a blank sketch book from Leuchtturm and you'll get the same effect. You can still use it the same as a bullet journal, and you'll be able to use whatever medium you're wanting to use on your page.
Yep, and that's definitely something. I use watercolors in my bullet journal because the pages can take it, but they can't take any extended working. Like I can't add another layer of color on there's just a one layer of color, or else I'm afraid the page will break down. If I try adding other colors or layers to build up an effect, then I think the page is screwed. So I would not suggest doing an actual painting in a standard Leuchtturm journal. Definitely grab like a proper sketchbook or watercolor journal if you really want to integrate those two different realms into one journal. But yeah, if you just want to do a single color wash, do it gently with paper towels nearby, and your normal Leuchtturm should be able to handle it. Can't speak for Moleskine, although Moleskine also has sketchbooks if you're interested in that sort of thing. Anyway, sorry, off topic. I'm all about watercolor lately.
Well,
Megan,
we've been talking about journals a lot. We've been talking about journals a lot.
Yep.
So I know you guys want to know if any of you are the lucky winner for our I have surprises right here. I have them. They're ready to mail out. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a winner. So I have logged into the Promo Simple app right now, and I'm going to click on Pick Winner. Here we go. You guys ready? Drum roll, Shelby. Here we go. Okay, we're going to generate a random one. Here we go.
So excited.
You guys ready? And the winner is C. Pancha. So if any of you guys are C. Pancha, go ahead and speak up. We're going to email the winner specifically, but I wanted some, oh, no, let's see, anybody? Oh, no. So,
I don't know.
We'll see. So they're probably not in here, but we're going to have to email them. And if we don't hear from that winner, you guys make sure that you're still following this, because if we don't hear from that winner in 3 days, we're going to redraw, and then it could be one of you guys. So
yep.
Thank you
Thank you guys for participating in the giveaway. It's always a pleasure. I love giving the gift of a Leuchtturm to someone who's never had one for the first time, because I love this journal so much. Other journals are fine. Leuchtturm is just kind of a step above for me. And Faber-Castell are some excellent pens. I don't have that particular set, but I have a couple other Faber-Castell brand pens, and they are an awesome set. So this is going to be a real treat for anyone, or for the person who receives this, whether it's the person who won, what was their name?
C. Pancha. That's their email address. Well, okay. I don't want to give out the whole email address though.
Yeah.
But it's in their email address, so that I'm assuming that that's part of their name. So,
but it might be if we don't hear back from them, make sure you keep an eye out, because this could be. This is just great. So thank you everyone for participating and for coming and listening to us talk about future planning. If you guys want to keep talking about future planning, feel free to head over to the bulletjournalhangout.com. It's a forum dedicated to bullet journaling. So just pop over there, and I'm sure you guys can get a nice conversation rolling about it and talk about any other methods that might work for you or that have worked for others. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you guys.
And we'll announce another theme for next month's webinar sometime soon. So make sure to keep an ear to the ground for that.
Yeah, we'll keep doing these, and you guys are always welcome to bring your suggestions. If you have something that you want us to talk about, you can contact us both directly through our websites, and we'll be happy to put those up on the webinar. If you have something that I'll speak for myself in particular. If you have an idea that you think would benefit the bullet journal community, you can always email me about it, and I will look into putting it up on my website or letting you do a guest post for me. So we love having your ideas. ideas. We love having everybody come to this, and I just can't thank you guys enough for coming to our webinar today. That's all from me.
Yep, same here. I think we'll go ahead and end this broadcast. Thanks everyone for coming. This has been a real blast. Have a wonderful Sunday and good luck with Monday. Bye.